Hello, I'm Olivia. I'm 17 now, and a year ago, my father tried to force me into dating one boy. How something like this could happen in the 21st century? Listen to my story and find out. My father is a businessman, and he usually spends most of his time doing his job or thinking about it. He wasn't a bad father, just a busy one. At least, he was passionate about his job, and allowed us to live comfortably, and to have everything we needed or wanted. My father is quite old school in his views on family roles, so my mother was a classic housewife, keeping our house in order and making food. She didn't really needed to do that because we are always able to afford hiring help, but my mother insisted. And father was happy with that because everything was, like he used to say, as it should be. Don't get me wrong, I was extremely grateful to him and understood that we wouldn't be able to live like that without him. So of course, I would try to give something back, like helping my mother. And also, I wanted to become successful without his help, like being a good student, and not just be a lazy person who lives off her parents' money. My father had a friend who was in the same line of business as he was, and while they weren't openly competing, it was understandable that there was an unspoken rivalry between them. My father didn't like that, and wanted to somehow unite both businesses. But it proved to be a difficult task, because his friend didn't really want that. So my father had a genius idea. If I would have married his friend's son, Stanley, then all of us would become one big family, and Stanley could become a boss for both companies and unite them. All of it sounded insane, especially how my father thought that I couldn't become a businesswoman myself, because I was a girl. Fortunately, we don't live in medieval times, and he couldn't openly force me to start dating Stanley. Instead, he would constantly talk how wonderful Stanley was. He was an athlete, straight-A student with good sense of humor. He would be a perfect boyfriend for you, honey. Real smooth, Dad. Every time Father's friend would visit us, he would bring Stanley, and Father would try to find similarities between us. Oh, Stanley, you like this TV show? Olivia loves it too, right, Olivia? And I would say something like, it's alright, I guess. And my father would look at me with disappointment. It was extremely awkward. And for Stanley too. He was a great guy, but I wasn't interested in him. And he wasn't interested in me. In a way, we understood each other because we both didn't like each other much. After he tried to bring us together a few times and failed, I thought he would calm down, but no! He was a businessman, and he didn't like to accept failures, so he started to talk about this with Mom, so she would try to persuade me that this was a good idea. I tried to explain to them that it doesn't work like that. It's not only me who didn't want to date Stanley. He wasn't too keen on the idea too. I don't even know what his father thought about all of it, and whether he noticed it at all. During the summer, my dad had planned his final plan. He bought us all tickets to a prestigious resort. And then he was like, oh, a lot of work turned up recently, but we can't waste a ticket, so let's invite Stanley instead. He probably thought that a resort would create a romantic situation for us, and we would suddenly fall in love, like in romantic comedies. I was fed up with it and decided to talk with Stanley. He said he doesn't even want to go to this resort, and he recently found a girlfriend, so all of it was just weird. All this sounds very bizarre, even insane, right? My father was always a bit eccentric, but this was just crazy. Stanley said that if I'm bothered by it, he could talk with his father and tell him what was happening. I wasn't sure I wanted to ruin my father's friendship that could lead into partnership, so I said no. Let's not do that just yet. Instead, I told my father that I didn't want to go to a resort, and that I had better spend my summer working. I explained to him that I want to become successful, and I was ready to work for it. I wanted to prove to him that he didn't need this partnership or Stanley to make his business more successful, because I would work hard to help him myself in the future, and working would be a first step for it. My father was furious, saying how I tried to ruin everything, and how it would make us richer than ever. I gave up on trying to persuade my father, so I told, I'm not a tool for your business. I'm a person. Of course my father didn't want to listen, so for the next few weeks, both of my parents almost didn't talk to me, like I had something bad and were waiting for my apology. They stopped buying me things, but I didn't care because I didn't even ask for them. And he even stopped cooking for me, saying, "Food is in the fridge, make something for yourself." They went to a resort and I started working. I don't care if my parents will continue to act that way. If I will need to work while studying in a university, I will do it. It's better to live by your own rules and have a hard life instead of being someone's tool with money. What do you think about this situation? Leave your opinion in the comments and share the video.